Give us this day our daily bread.
Behold the Lamb of God. Behold him who takes away the sins of the world.
Drew, what you doing? Well, thanks for coming back for the second session. As I told you in the first session, what we're going to do in the second session is we're going to make you work a little bit harder. We're going to talk about the dreams you had when you first got married. And for some people, the dreams are very fleshed out and articulate. For other people, it's more just a feeling. Here's what I dream or hope is going to happen. Here's the kind of closeness that I think the two of us will have. And especially for couples who, you know, are still in that kind of infatuation stage of marriage. You know, your partner's perfect. They can't do anything wrong. You want to be with them all the time. Everything is terrific. Well, part of the dream is that that's always going to go on. And even though you watched your mom and dad and you say, I guess it isn't going to go on like that all the time. But at least that's part of the dream of closeness. Whether the dream is fleshed out for you or whether it's just this kind of vague thing, it's something that everybody hopes for when they get married. Part of the disillusionment is sometimes when we get into marriage, there's this stuff of marriage. And I alluded to it in the first session, that the stuff of marriage starts getting in the way. You know, many people today are putting in really long hours at work. And apart from the long hours at work, many people are driving an hour to work and an hour home, and they leave at 6 o'clock and they get home at 6 o'clock and they're dead tired, but their spouse has also been home with 2 little kids all day, and she's been working like crazy all day too. And she wants a little help too, and now on top of this, I just want to sit in the chair, but there's dishwashers to empty, there's stuff to clean, there's pots to clean, there's little kids hanging on you, and all that stuff starts to say that it eats at that closeness. You were going to have the time to sit and talk. You were going to have the time to go out on dates. You were going to have the time to be close. Well, all of a sudden, Dad said it would be this way, but the money is a whole lot shorter than I ever dreamed it was going to be. I don't know how we're going to pay for all this stuff. And now the two of us aren't sure we're on the same page. She thinks the baby's got to have 7 new outfits that he's going to outgrow within a month, and I'm working my tail off, and she doesn't seem to understand, and where are we going with this? Well, all that stuff, whether it's finances, whether it's work, whether it's exhaustion, whether it's kids, and kids are such a joy, but kids are also a lot of work. One of the people in the parish says that's why God invented menopause, because there's a certain time in marriage where you say, I'm too old for this. I can't do this anymore. Except a lot of grandparents are doing that by raising grandkids. So whether it's grandparents or parents, whether it's finances, whether it's health, And there's all the other things. There's the things like, you know, mom calls every other day, and she calls right when my husband and I would love to just be talking. And you don't want to hurt mom, but it gets in the way. And then dad's been sick for quite a while, and we're not sure what to do. And my brothers and sisters are saying, you know, you got to help too, but we got 2 little kids at home, and we're trying to work everything out. All that stuff that is life. And it's true for all of us. It may be a little bit different in every family, but it's there for everybody. That stuff starts eating at the dream, because it isn't that we don't want to be close. It's just by the time the kids are in bed, we are too tired for any talking. We're too tired maybe for anything else either. We just want to go to sleep. And after a while, you say, what happened to the closeness? So one of the things in this session that we're reflecting on is we're asking you to say, what are the things that get in the way? And what kinds of things that get in the way could be changed, which can't be changed? What will help? How can you be a little more intentional to say, we don't want to lose the dream. We don't want to lose the date nights. We don't want to lose the conversations. But all the things we talked about while we were dating seemed to have just gone away and got lost in this stuff. So if you can reflect on that today, some things you can't change, just not going to change. But some things you can. And some things you say, I just want to do it a little bit differently. When you move from the infatuation stage into a deeper, more mature kind of love, that's not less love, it's more. It's a wonderful stage. You haven't lost anything, you're gaining something. But after that first couple years, when you start to realize my partner's not quite as perfect as I thought. He snores, he's got gas, he doesn't wait to get in the bathroom to relieve it, he aggravates me, and why in God's name he's got to grab the toothpaste anywhere rather than on the end like I do and work up the end. All those things come into the picture. And then you find out he also can really be crabby, but he was never crabby before on a date. He can also be rather self-centered sometimes. Okay. Now we get to the point in the marriage of saying, I make a decision to love him. Now the love is not based on feelings. Now the love is based on decisions. Now I don't want to over-caricature this. I hope the infatuation is there at some level all through your life. I hope that's always a part. I hope there's always a part where there's those wonderful feelings, where you just really want to be with each other, where you really enjoy each other's company, and any faults you've got, you're not too worried about one way or another. But to the degree that some of those feelings fade, and we move into that stage of saying, this is my commitment, and I still love this person, but now it's got more to do with the decision to love them. Now, what does the dream look like? What is this dream of closeness? You know, when it was all feeling and closeness and honeymoon and sex and everything was wonderful, yeah, that dream was pretty easy to flesh out. How do I flesh out this dream that we're going to be together for the next 50 years? And in this next 50 years, in my decision to love this man or to love this woman, what does that dream look like? I want to share with you a reflection, and I've shared this in many different contexts because it is so important and it's so close to who we are as people. Because in the United States, we use the same word love for 3 different phenomena. We get them confused. When we really care about somebody, we say we love them. When we really admire someone, we say we love them. When we really enjoy someone, we say we love them. And because of that, we can get really good at one of the 3 and maybe not so good at the others. In the old days, for instance, those of us who are a little older, many of our parents were really, really good at caring about us. They wanted us to get the best education. They wanted us to wear our coat, our hat, to eat right, to study hard, to have a good future, to be healthy, to get around the right friends. They took really good care of us. But sometimes, especially the old Germans, weren't so good at admiring us, because they were afraid if they told us how much they admired us, that we would get a little cocky and a little arrogant, and that's the last thing they wanted in their kids. They didn't know that the opposite is true, that you get arrogant and proud when you don't believe in yourself. But they weren't so good at it. They weren't so good at enjoying us. In the old days, Mom was canning until the end of the evening, was putting up preserves, was darning socks, which nobody ever does anymore today. But she'd darn the holes in the end of our socks to make sure that we could keep wearing them for a while. And Dad was out doing 400 things. He didn't have time. He wasn't around. They weren't at all the ball games we did. We had pickup ball teams, and they weren't there to enjoy any of that. And I'm sure they enjoyed us, but I don't know if we knew it enough. Well, those 3 dimensions of loving are absolutely essential. They're essential from the time we're a little kid. When a little kid is born and you're raising the littlest of children, you know how much they love being cared for. When they get out of their bath and you dry them off with a big towel and wrap a towel around them and squeeze them, and then put their jams on them and tuck them into bed and kiss them goodnight and maybe even read them a story, they love it. They just eat that up. And it is a human need, and they become better people for it. But they also need to be admired. You know, sometimes, you know, like when a little kid is sitting at the table and with his crayons, he draws a picture of Grandma, and he wants to show you. and he shows you right here, and you say, no, 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 wait, I can't see it right here. You got to back up, you got to back off, then I can see it. But they want you to tell them how good it is, and how pretty that picture is, and how happy that's going to make Grandma. What are they saying? They need to be admired, not just cared for. They need to be admired. Their need to be enjoyed is answered by their grandparents. Parents don't always have time to enjoy kids, but grandparents do, and that's why kids love their grandparents, and the grandparents love the grandkids, because when the grandkids come over, and they can spoil them all day and then send them home, the grandparents enjoy the kids, and the kids love being enjoyed. It's a human need. Well, let's come back to marriage. We don't outgrow that. We don't outgrow that need. Every man and woman in marriage still needs, when they're 25, when they're 45, and when they're 85, they need to be cared about, they need to be enjoyed, admired, and they need to be enjoyed. All three. With all of us, part of this second session is not just the daily stuff that blocks us from the dream, but that we've lost that dream, that as it matures, yeah, maybe it's not so lovey-dovey, maybe it's not so feeling, maybe it's not so physical, but we know when one of those dimensions of being loved is missing. We can't name it, and the value of what we're doing here today is to name it. Because if we can name it, we can say, yeah, that's part of what I'm missing. I know my husband really cares for me. I know that, at least in bed, he enjoys me, but I don't know if he admires me. I don't know if especially now when I'm not working outside the home and I'm with the kids all the time, I don't know if he admires what I do. I don't know if he values and appreciates what I do all day long and how hard a work that is. I wonder if he admires that I'm still an intelligent person, even though I'm talking to 4-year-olds all day long. Until we can name that dream, and this isn't the only way to name the dream, but it's one for me that fleshes it out in a pretty realistic way for couples after they've moved away from infatuation. If couples can use that as kind of an examination of conscience, and if they can say, am I good at that? Am I doing that well? It really helps a marriage to grow. In a marriage, when the couple is looking for those things, like I said, they can't always name it. In fact, on the last retreat I gave, one of the men said in the morning, when you name that, I thought, that's exactly what I was trying to say to her last night, but didn't know how to say it. He said, I come home from work, I go up the stairs, I change clothes, I come downstairs, and it's like I never came home. Nobody says much, nobody does much. And he said, I just don't feel very admired. It's like I'm not that important. They're on with their whatever they're doing. So naming it is so important. So the most important thing that I want you to reflect on this morning is, first of all, do you feel loved in all three ways? Secondly, if you don't, can you name where you think something's missing in a discussion with your partner that is not criticizing or judgmental? Can you just say, maybe you're doing this for me, but I noticed that I don't feel it so much, and it's a need in me that I think I need answered more. Can I invite you to see that for some reason I need that part of marriage more than maybe being taken care of? Yes, you bring home a paycheck, and yes, you're extremely responsible, and yes, you're always concerned about my parents, and yes, you're always there. But sometimes I don't always feel so admired. First, can I name it? Then, can I talk about it without starting a fight or being judgmental or accusing? And then third, that each of the couple, the man and the woman, can say, how good am I at that? Have I ever asked myself how good I am? Am I good at caring for my spouse and my kids? Am I good at admiring my partner and my kids? Am I good at enjoying my partner and my kids? I would really say to you, that can be one of the finest kind of challenges in your marriage. And if you say, oh, I might as well beat myself up because I'm not very good at two of those. All right, a lot of us aren't. That's why it's so important to name it. If we name it, and if we say, you know, I think that's right, even though I'm not doing it, now as I examine my life, I can say, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do something different. And I'm not only going to do it differently, I'm going to ask him, or I'm going to ask her, am I doing better at that? Am I answering that need? Because the most important thing I want to do in loving you is make you happy. And the way you're going to be happy, because God built it into us from the time we were little kids. I want to care about you. I want to admire you. I want to enjoy you. Those are the questions I want you to think about after this session. Does it name some things for me? Can it help me ask for some things I need? And how good am I at doing it? And then what other stuff is getting in the way, because we don't want to give up on the dream. Thank you.